What is this? My third live stream of the day? 2 wardrobe changes? Yeah. Okay. How everybody doing? We're back. We're back. So we're back to regularly scheduled programming. And I dropped the poll earlier, not too long ago, asking, is it a new day in Cleveland? Some people feel that way. If you were on social media earlier, or you heard Monken posted Shedeur Sanders on his social media. And there are people that believe because Monken was hired that, things will be different. And this is the photo right here. This is the actual post from Monken's page. While I believe that the difference, the obvious difference will be, we should see no public disrespect, no public humiliation, no, ignoring Shedeur, no abuse. We shouldn't see any public sabotage. We shouldn't see any type of disrespect. That's just what we're categorizing as disrespect. So when I ask the question, do you believe it's a new day in Cleveland? Almost 96% of you said yes. So I always like to take y'all's pulse to see what y'all are thinking. And it just kind of helps me align the show and put it together. So I did. Okay, so as you can see right here, it says, is it a new day in Cleveland for Shedeur Sanders with Todd Monken as the head coach of the Browns? I was very specific. And 94% of you said yes, while 6% said nah, right? I didn't vote, but I'm pretty sure I'm in the nah, right? Now, why is that, right? And there are going to be people, oh, you're being negative, because I've already heard that. But you know what? I have to let myself know some people need to cut their grass because they can't see the snakes, right? And that's just what it is. I mean, the reality is some people either are new to the Browns and just do not understand this team's history, and or they don't know how to read people. They can't see the snakes. That's just what it is. And it's a new day because they got a new coach, but the owner is still over there. And for those of you that do not know, the Browns being dysfunctional is not new. It's not new. Shedeur is new to the Browns, but the Browns dysfunction is not new. And you can ask long-term fans, will tell you that. It is actually amazing that they have such a loyal fan base because of how long they have been dysfunctional. This is the same team that hadn't been to the playoffs probably since 89 with Baker Mayfield, and they traded him for Deshaun. And then they trashed and shelved Deshaun. And then they said they couldn't get Shedeur because of Deshaun. But this year, they're pitting Shedeur against Deshaun. And today, they want to add Kyler Murray to the mix. Yesterday, it was Carson Beck. The day before, it was Ty Simpson. Do you see? And today, it's being said that an insider has let it be known the Browns will get another QB. That is exactly why I say it's not a new day. Monken is new to the situation. Shedeur is new to the situation. The dysfunction is not new. That is why there's a petition by fans calling for a boycott or accountability or to sell the team. That's why tickets went to $6. You've heard me ask multiple times, how many times have you heard me say Deshaun Kaiser's name since we've been hanging out together? It was dysfunctional then, and the owner is the same. You also heard me say the NFL insiders have said what? The Browns will be the Browns as long as that owner is the owner. But they're in no hurry to kick him out. But the fans have had enough. And even with the fans having enough with their petition that we actually contributed to, shout out to y'all, they kind of still buy it into the Browns' response to the petition is, oh, y'all's petition is different. We're looking for a way to recognize long-term fans. They didn't ask to be recognized. They want accountability. And they're not even getting it with a petition. They're not even getting it with a new head coach. What I like about this photo is the beautiful gift that Shedeur gave to Monken that's right there in the background. That's the horses. That is a gorgeous gift. That is an absolutely gorgeous gift. It says everything about this young man. Now, I'm of the belief that Monken, as a head coach, should be able to go to the Browns and say, look, this kid is elite. And you don't have to shun him because you want to get Arch Manning next year. We can win this year. We can find a way to win this year and find a way for you to move on to Arch Manning next year without sullying the brand's reputation and turning fans away, turning fans off, and backlash, a PR nightmare. Because if you had one last year, you're going to have one this year because people are catching on. Shedeur Sanders is a fine young man in terms of his character. And that's obvious. And Shedeur said he got one of those horsehead gifts for himself as well because they are nice. Right? And I like to remind people that Monken is an employee. The owner is still the owner. And the team has been dysfunctional since he got it, since he bought it. And I remember fans saying, we thought things would be different with this owner. Not since 2012. The revolving door of quarterbacks continued on with new ownership. So maybe, just maybe, the Browns have a role to play. And that clearly seems to be some type of receptacle for quarterbacks that the NFL wants to up in their careers or see as problematic or don't want leading their teams. You think it's a coincidence that they're all black? With Kyler Murray's name thrown into the mix? Last time it was Malik Willis, Dante Moore, Trinidad Shambliss. Hell, it's going to be Taylor Green. I'd be shocked. But then he'd still be over there when the Manning kid came and they don't want to risk it. So who do you think they would get where they feel comfortable bringing in that they wouldn't upstage Arch Manning? I don't know. You have to let me know in the comments. And what further reminds me of how dysfunctional the Browns are and nothing has changed. It is not a new day. We just should not see any public disrespect. It's because the Browns has some more transactions today. They let go a player on the O-line. It's not Joel Bitonio. It's not KT Leviston. And it's not Cam Robinson. It's Cornelius Lucas. How many times did you hear me say Cornelius Lucas' name? So I decided to do a little deep dive, right? I decided to look and see what their PFF grades are because I have a theory about why Cornelius Lucas was let go. And it has nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with gearing up for next year. All right, so I posted on the community, Cornelius Lucas is number 71. He only had 5 starts for the Browns. Now, he had, when he finished up, a 49 in PFF, right? That's absolutely terrible. And he didn't even, I don't even know if he played at all when Shedeur played, because the film I saw on him, where they had him playing left guard. So it was left tackle, Cam Robinson, left guard, Joel Bitonio. Now, when Andrew Berry brought in and signed Cornelius Lucas, what he did was smart. He didn't just sign Cornelius Lucas for 2 years for like $10 million a year, or $10 million total of $5 million. He got somebody that's a left and a right tackle. And I said, that's smart. Because right tackles can be problematic. And if you lose him on right tackle, you could get him on left tackle if something happens. So the footage that they're now sharing on X saying he's trash, it makes sense to let him go, is of him playing left guard in Joel Bitonio's spot. Now, when he finished with the Browns, he had a 49 PFF, which is straight trash. And Barry brought him in, and apparently Stefanski put him on up early because Flacco was in the clip. But I never saw him when Shedeur was playing. Never. And I complained about that. But he somehow got a 49 PFF. But guess what he had before he came to Cleveland? An 80 for several years. A 79 or 80. And guess what? He's not the only lineman that came to Cleveland he had a great PFF with this team. But when he gets to the Browns, he's labeled as trash. That was Jaden Daniels. He was with Jaden Daniels. Remember, he went damn near this close to the Super Bowl until they met up with Philly, right? So when Andrew Berry got Cornelius Lucas, it was a good thing. And guess what Kevin Stefanski did? Make Andrew Berry look stupid. So now they're letting Cornelius Lucas go. So Andrew Berry, that's a knock on him. He didn't play him when it was with Shedeur. He didn't put him in to help Shedeur. He put him in early, and he put him in out of position, and they used that to bench him and sit him down and take him out of the role that would replace Jack Conklin. You see how the sabotage was working? This man has had a 79 or 80 PFF for 3 to 4 years before coming to the Browns, where Stefanski set him up to set up Andrew Berry. So now I think about when Stefanski says, oh, it's not just one person's fault. He knew Berry. They was coming for him next. And I told y'all they was coming for him next. This move proves that they coming for Berry because Berry brought him in. They also released a backup center, Osborne. Why you ain't released no starting O-lineman except for Wyatt Teller? Now they parted ways with Jack Conklin, but they had to because he was called out really badly for dirt diving. And Joe Batonio was supposed to retire, but they don't want him to leave just yet. And it's crickets on the worst offenders, 68 and 72. And Cam Robinson came from over there with CJ Stroud. And guess what? While he didn't have a 79 or 80, he did have a 60-something, and he didn't have nowhere near a 60 in Cleveland. So that's the second person who did better somewhere else and was brought to Cleveland for whatever reason. Both Cornelius Lucas and Cam Robinson came from CJ Stroud and Jada Daniels, black quarterbacks. We're going to bring you over here with Shedeur. And their PFFs took a nosedive off of a cliff. So what's going to happen to their careers now that you have a 49? Do your agent have to go fight for you and say, look, that was just some shit going on in Cleveland? Yeah, because now you're devalued for coming here. You were supposed to get paid. You moved your family here. I think they moved from New Orleans or something like that, or he from New Orleans. I remember reading the story. And I thought it was a 2-year contract. And he moved his family there. They did a whole story and piece on him, and now they're kicking him out after 5 starts when they had him play out of position and didn't put him in when Shedeur played to replace KT Levingston or 68 or 72. And 68 and 72 still work for the Browns, along with Joel Batonio. Wyatt Teller's gone. Cornelius Lucas is gone with his 80 or his 79 PFF grade. But not Cam Robinson, not KT Levingston, and Joel Batonio is still hanging on. They was trying to work out something with his contract. Why would you want to keep him? And some people were saying it. Y'all saying KT Levingston was trash. He wasn't worse than 68 and 72. See, everybody know them by numbers. Everybody know Cam Robinson and KT Levingston by numbers. When KT Levingston came to the Rams, he had a PFF grade of 89.8. Now, mind you, he used to play at Kansas State in the Big 12. He showed up to the Browns in August of 2025. So that meant he was right down the road at Kansas State. He's known as a strong run blocker with potential despite having limited regular season experience. He showed promise in the 2025 preseason game with who? The Rams. Remember the game Shedeur was set up? Well, KT Levingston was on the other side. On the other side. He was on, the Rams. And that included a high PFF grade of 89.8. He don't have that no more. He don't have that no more. Instead, during a Week 15 matchup against the Bears, he earned a 66.2 overall with a 73.9 pass blocking grade, but struggled with consistency. So what did we see him doing? What did we see him doing? We saw him taking dives. That's the struggling with consistency that they're talking about. That's exactly what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. When he decided to take dives, that's the inconsistency. So he damaged his PFF, but not terribly so like Cornelius Lucas, who they had playing out of position, even though he could play left tackle and right tackle. They never once subbed KT Levingston or Cam Robinson. And Cornelius Lucas can play both ways, both sides. And that's who they got rid of. The somebody with a proven on another team, 3 to 4 years, a solid 79 or 80 PFF, and he come there and only get a 49. Is it because he was playing out of position? Was he asked to take a dive? Then we don't miss him if he was asked to take a dive. So why the drastic drop off when you were brought in for that 80 PFF and you could play both ways, but the head coach never used you when Shedeur needed new linemen? They just said, oh, we'll address it next year. You had Cornelius Lucas on the bench the entire time. I talked about that. What are your thoughts there? My thought is that's a direct indictment on Andrew Berry, and that's what they're using it for. See, you brought this guy in. You brought this guy in. You brought this guy in. And we didn't get any better. And we're under the gun. We're going to have to let you go. I'll move you out your role and let somebody else do the GM position. Let's see how fond of Andrew Berry they are. It just depends on what happens with him next in terms of elevated or terminated or demoted. Let's see what happens. Let me know your theory as to why it is they would bring in somebody who can play left and right tackle, but make them play out of position. Only 5 starts. And they had an 80 PFF for 3 to 4 years before they arrived, and they left with a 49. And with Shedeur, there needed to be adjustments to the O-line, to the left tackle and right tackle, which they played. There was never such. What do you think it is? I think it's dysfunction. That's what I think it is. Because it's not just Cornelius Lucas. KT Levingston also had high-performing PFF, but guess what? Somehow they got him to be suddenly inconsistent. See, you don't get a high PFF grade being inconsistent. That's only in Cleveland. That 49 for Cornelius Lucas, only in Cleveland. Cam Robinson, only in Cleveland. So what gives? What's going on here? And do I need to mention that all 3 are Black? Do I need to mention that? Do you think it matters? So looking into these guys, it says that KT Levingston, he is seen as a 6'4", 337 blocker who may fit better at guard than at tackle. So understand this. They even think he's out of position. So why never switch it up? Why never switch it up? Stefanski didn't make any adjustments. He just left those guys out there. And my question is, since these guys had better PFFs before they arrived, is there some kind of conversation that's happening? Is there a conversation that's happening? Because how do you go, we're going to bring you into Cleveland. You got an 80 PFF. You can play left tackle and right tackle. But when you meet Stefanski, suddenly you are playing out of position. And then suddenly you have a 49. And they never use you when Shedeur plays. What's that looking like? What's the suggestion there for that type of behavior? because Stefanski is the common denominator. And both KT Leviston playing out of position, as well as his lowered PFF. That's the pattern, people. That's the pattern. So Andrew Berry brings these people in. They look bad. Cornelius Lucas gets kicked out. Let's see what happens to KT Leviston and Cam Robinson. KT Leviston was drafted in the 7th round, number 254. So that should tell you he has a desire to please, right? Cornelius Lucas didn't have nothing to worry about because Andrew Berry brought him in. They were featuring him on their social media. He seemed like a lock until he got to who? Stefanski. That was Stefanski's way, if you ask me, my honest opinion, of undermining Andrew Berry. I said that multiple times during the season. So playing out of position is being weaponized. And when you look at these guys' history before they come to Cleveland, it's drastically different when they meet Stefanski. Let me know your theory. So it said, Cam Robinson in 2025, his appearance with the Texans, CJ Stroud, offensive tackle, Cam Robinson had a 66.3. During that game against the Rams again, he registered a 69.4 run blocking grade, the highest among Texans offensive linemen, but had a pass blocking grade under 60 and allowed a holding penalty. So I see why they got him, because he was one of them ones that set up CJ Stroud. You see, the run blocking grade is high because I'm blocking for the running back. But the pass blocking grade is lowered. So either you're not good at this and they just left you out there and didn't make any adjustments because it benefited them, or he set up CJ Stroud. So come on over here to Houston, we could use, over here to Cleveland, we could use your services. Tell me you don't see the pattern. Tell me you don't see the pattern. It said in 2025, he was expected to provide stability at left tackle. That's crazy. He was traded to the Browns in September of 2025. It said Robinson started at left tackle against the Rams, which is against KT Leviston, right? Representing the Texans, where he struggled to a sub 60 pass blocking grade with the Texans in week 1, but showed strength in the run game. And somehow the Browns thought, let's get him. He can't protect the quarterback, but he could protect the running back. So let's get him. And we watched number 68 let his men through and tee off on Shedeur and throw his men into Shedeur and set up Shedeur and not block for Shedeur and run into Shedeur himself and let Shedeur get hit in the back. When you look at somebody's performance that says at left tackle against the Rams, he struggled to he didn't even have a 60. So he had an F. 60 is a D. He had an F. And they saw that he was, he was okay with the protecting Quinshawn, because they got to think like that. Who we protecting? But when it comes to protecting Shedeur, because they didn't get him till September, so he wasn't in camp. They got somebody that they knew failed in pass blocking. They got somebody they knew who failed in pass blocking. Tell me that makes sense. Tell me that makes sense. You looked at his profile like I'm looking at it, and you think, yeah, let me get him so we can win. No, you looked at him and said, oh, you didn't protect your quarterback. Let me get him. So you know what that means if they got him in September. They didn't want to win, period. I don't know if he blocked for Flacco. I'm going to have to go back and watch. I don't know if he blocked for Dylan. I would have to go back and watch. But the one play I did, the one game I was focused on Dylan was what? The Baltimore Ravens game. And that O-line protected Dylan like Fort Knox, and he was out there. But when it got to Shedeur, well, there we go. No pass blocking. We struggling. So when they saw him, they knew what he was capable of because he had just done it to CJ Stroud. You see? Musical chairs, people. Musical chairs. That's crazy right there. I'm sharing this on the screen so you can see it yourself. This is how they chose this guy, even though his profile was exactly what it is. That's crazy. And they gonna blame that on who? Andrew Berry. And he could have told them, I don't want to get him. But guess what? He don't have no power. So he did. Because I thought he did. I gave him an A for Cornelius Lucas. I'm like, oh, and guess what? Cornelius Lucas wasn't the only player that can play left and right. As he was bringing more people in because they were complaining that the O-line is trash, Stefanski wasn't playing them. We had that conversation. I said, oh, Andrew Berry not just bringing in more people. Remember Green, Kenneth Green or somebody like that? He could play left and right. He could play left and right guard. Cornelius can play left and right tackle. So you see what Andrew Berry was doing? CYA. You have no excuse. And Stefanski didn't play him. Nope, he didn't play him. Because the owner said Berry brings him in and Stefanski decides who's going to play. So it's right here on your screen. They knew he failed at protecting the quarterback. And they chose to bring him in anyway. This was before he got to Cleveland. This is not somebody that you bring in. But that's what they did. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so we'll keep it pushing. That's insane to me. That's a keeper right there. That's a keeper. Those are the types of things. Looking at this deep dive. This deep dive into hold on 1 second. Okay. Power. All right. So when you've had a faulty O-line, 2024, right? You knew you needed an O-line in 24 and you didn't address it. You knew you needed to bring in people in 2025, but there were no adjustments, even though Berry brought in people, right? And Berry says after he brought in people and Stefanski did not bring them in, what did he say? Well, we didn't have time to do everything we wanted to do because we had to pivot. And I said, what the hell is pivot? So it makes it seem like he's trying to say, since they had to pivot from either Flacco to Dylan or from Dylan to Shedeur or all three, somewhere in the line, he considers that a pivot. And that's why they could not get the O-line together. I don't know what pivot he's talking about. I still don't. But when you take a deep dive into these guys' PFF grades before they got here, this guy had a decent PFF grade, but it told you what his problem was. That he couldn't protect the quarterback, but he could protect the running back. And that's who was brought in to the situation in Cleveland in September. So now you got to go back and look at the games to see what he did with Flacco versus Dylan versus Shedeur. You have to do it because these guys have history from other teams. And when you look at their history of failing to protect the quarterback, which is CJ Stroud, why would you bring him to Cleveland? You see? Why would you bring him to Cleveland? Same thing with KT Levingston. He was actually good, so you bring him to Cleveland, but he not in the right position because he's better as a guard. And you have Cornelius Lucas, who was supposed to be the 2 after Jack Conklin, but you made KT Levingston the 2, who was 3rd string, who was drafted in the 7th round, who didn't have that kind of experience. Of course, you could either compromise him or just let him fail because Cornelius Lucas was the better backup and Jack Conklin was caught dirt diving. But Stefanski didn't use those players, the personnel, to win. He used the personnel to sabotage the quarterback, which explains why Cam Robinson was brought in. Whose idea was that? So all three, and their histories and their grades tell you there's a pattern of sabotage here. And certain people were brought in or removed because they don't fit the agenda to sabotage a particular quarterback. Until I watched him in games against all three, because I watched him in a game against Baltimore. I saw him be a part of Fort Knox to protect Dillon. Now I have to go back and watch Flacco. But you see how they setting up Cornelius Lucas, making him look bad when he coming in the door with an 80 and Andrew Berry did right, can play left and right. Pushing him out, pushing Wyatt Teller out. But you want to keep Cam Robinson that failed at protecting the quarterback, which was CJ Stroud. You want to bring him over here. KT Leviston. You knew he was a third string. You knew he was a 7th round pick. And you want to put him in front of Cornelius Lucas. So you really are undermining Andrew Berry. That's what you're doing. So that's why I say, guys, it's not a new day. It's not. It's a new day in terms of we shouldn't see any blatant disrespect, right? We shouldn't see that. But the sabotage is still there. The manipulation of the roster is still there. It said the Browns offensive line for 2025, the unit itself ranked 31 out of 32 NFL teams. Let me let y'all see this. 31 out of 32 NFL teams. Man. So they had the second lowest score. 31 out of 32. Kevin Stefanski ranked dead last as a coach. Can you see the correlation? Do you see the correlation? Do you see the correlation to Kevin Stefanski being ranked last and the O-line second to last ranking? It's that pass blocking, lowest pass blocking grade in the NFL, period. Just like Kevin Stefanski is the lowest, worst ranked coach in NFL, period. 49.7. You're not going to tell me that there was no coercion there. You're not going to tell me that Kevin Stefanski deserves to be hired and paid $15 million a year in Atlanta. You're not going to tell me that he was paid to do a good job in Atlanta. But I'm going to say, in my opinion, he was paid to do exactly what he did in Cleveland. Fail. If he going to keep getting paid, you're paying him to fail. You paid him to fail in Atlanta because he failed in Cleveland, and you increased his salary 4.5 times. And you fired a better coach to get him. So it must be something he provides that you want in Atlanta. And what did he successfully do? Devalue Shedeur Sanders. And how? The fact that they want him to compete and won't commit tells you that they don't see him as QB1. So that's why Stefanski gets the pat on the back. That's why he gets the raise. And hey, come on down here and do it to Michael Penix Jr. Do you think it's a coincidence that Cam Robinson, on paper, failed at protecting CJ Stroud and he comes over to Cleveland? Do you think it's in September? Do you think it's a coincidence that KT Leviston was drafted in the 7th round, number 254, who was 3rd string on the depth chart, and Stefanski moved him up to 2 and moved Cornelius Lucas back, who had an 80 PFF for several years, protecting, and also was with Jaden Daniels? Do you think it's a coincidence? That they moved him out the way off of Cleveland roster like they did Wyatt Teller? No. This is quiet sabotage, people. This is precisely what I was talking about. Previously, I remember asking everybody, are y'all ready to boycott? And people said no. And then we got to a point where people boycotted and was ready to boycott. But it took some time in the season. So I just asked the question, is it a new day? And 94% of people say yes. I'm going to come back and ask the question later on. Because we haven't even gotten to the season and the shenanigans. The sabotage is already being laid out for you. Moving out the best O-lineman. Hemming and hawing about Batonio. Crickets. On third string, KT Levingston, that should be a guard. And Cam Robinson that failed CJ Stroud. Crickets on them three. Crickets. But I'm getting rid of the best or only backups. Well, let's see. We got some more time to go. Let's see who they bring in. Now let's see what their profiles look like. So it said key departures for free agents. Starters like Cam Robinson, Joey Antonio, Ethan Posick, and right guard Wyatt Teller are facing uncertainty or free agency with the line of facing a complete shambles. So it was already in shambles. As you heard me say, Wyatt Teller is gone. Cam Robinson's still there. Joel Batonio's still there. Ethan Posick, I believe, is still there. They got rid of a backup guard named Osborne. So they probably not trying to move those three. They didn't even mention KT Levingston. KT went from an 80 to a 50. Ranked 78th out of 89 tackles. Guess what that means? That means KT Levingston himself is devalued as a player. This is why you don't go along with this coercion. It's clearly some kind of coercion happening. In the skit, he said, remember, you don't have to go out here and be Superman. Did he tell that to KT Levingston and Cam Robinson and the whole O-line? Or did Joel Batonio tell him? Who told him? Because how are you better somewhere else with the exception of Cam, but you come here and end up with a 54? So your agent got to go work doubly hard for you and say, look, it was just something going on in Cleveland. This guy has an 80. Now he got to prove himself. What y'all think about that? What y'all think? That he trashed his own PFF. Let me know your thoughts. Cornelius Lucas had a 42. He went from 80 to a 42. Both of these guys are supposedly playing out of position. KT Levingston had him at tackle. He was third string, moved up the second string in front of Cornelius Lucas, who had all the experience. They both were in the 80s for their PFF. And both walking out the door with a 54 and a 42. Interesting. That's the individual grades. Rushton offense struggled with the lowest yards before contract. It said, the season saw the line fall from a previous team strength to a major liability, forcing them to consider breaking their trend of not drafting offensive linemen early. What did I tell you? Let's see who it is. Let's see if it's going to be 3 black guys or 2 black guys that get the first round nod. Let's see. See, the agenda is being laid out for you. The line previously was a strength. It was turned into a liability. Stefanski sent packing. Now we can justify getting O-linemen in the first round because that is not normal. Last year, we bypassed Shedeur and got Mason Graham, who's a lineman on defense, right? We play on defense, right? And we got Carson Schwetzinger after him. What's the difference? They white. Let's see who they get. I can't wait for y'all to come back and tell me who they drafted in the first round. If they don't trade away those picks to secure the first round in 2027. I'm just curious. I want to see who they get for linemen, who they let go, and who they keep. So far, it ain't looking good. It's looking like the same bullshit from last year, which means you don't believe in your quarterback because you're not trying to protect him. There's no justification for keeping Joel Bitonio around. There's no justification for keeping Cam around. It was no justification to bring Cam Robinson in the first place. But I saw why you did, because he protected the running back and not the quarterback, and that's what you wanted. So that meant when you brought him in September, you knew that y'all wasn't going to go nowhere because you're not trying to go nowhere. That's what I mean by dysfunction, folks. That's that dysfunction. That's the dysfunction that I'm talking about. And it took a deep dive into these guys' backgrounds. And I did the same thing for Monken. And that's why I'm telling you, just like the transactions that can kind of show you what's going on, Monken coming in, the first person they get rid of is a tight end. Wasn't it a tight end that lost that championship game versus the Bills? And now they talking that smack about Harold Fanning Jr. is the future, which means somebody else is tight end one. Who is that? Are we going to get somebody in the first round? Is he going to be white? We shall see. Monken can smile in Shedeur Sanders' face all day. Why? Because Andrew Berry, once again, using his melanin, went on the record after the season, before Monken was hired, to say the quarterback position is not solidified. We're looking for leadership role, yada, yada, yada. That was cold-blooded. After he kept cheering on Shedeur, running up to him, hugging him, acting like the proud cousin or uncle, only to say, we haven't found our quarterback yet. Let's see if he uses melanin to get it traded. Every week, it's the new quarterback. And 9 out of the 10 that they talk about, with the exception of Carson Beck and Ty Simpson, are black. If they get Carson Beck, it's because they don't think he's going to show up the Manning kid. If they get Ty Simpson, it's because they don't think he's going to show up the Manning kid. But from what I can tell based on studying them, they're not going to put no white quarterbacks in that situation. Did y'all know that they, I believe, moved out Bailey Zapp to the Jets? So they got room on the practice squad. We heard they getting another quarterback. That's 2. I can stash somebody away for a string. I can stash somebody away to replace Dylan, and I could just get a veteran because I feel like it. Kyler Murray, let's see what his contract looked like. I'm going to do some studying on that, and I'll report back to you. So Shedeur is proven QB1. He's new to the Browns, but the Browns are not new to dysfunction. And there's a pattern of dysfunction throughout the locker room and in the front office. And as we look at the players that they decide to get for the O-line last year, they weren't trying to win. Not looking at Cam Robinson's profile. Not putting third-string KT Leviston in front of the more experienced with an 80 PFF, Cornelius Lucas, that can play left and right. Cornelius Lucas could have been adjusted in to replace Cam Robinson or to replace KT Leviston, but it was neither. He was moved out the way because he could help as a veteran, because he has the experience with the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels as the quarterback. He got moved smoothly out the way like Wyatt Teller. You see it yet? And this is with Monken in the building. If Stefanski can bring in Dylan, you trying to tell me Monken can't make sure Wyatt Teller stays? You trying to tell me Monken can't see that Cornelius Lucas was an asset and was moved out the way? And y'all still think it's the new day? No, Monken just signed up to stick to the script. And it was easy for him to do so because he stuck to the script in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson as the quarterback. You think it's a coincidence that Lamar and Shedeur are both black quarterbacks and Monken was their coach? No. Any Georgia fans in the house? Remember Justin Fields? We were having a conversation in the comments today. And somebody shared with me what happened at Georgia under Monken with Justin Fields. So let me see if I can share that with you. So y'all can just kind of see it's the new day. It's also just Tuesday. It's the same old in Cleveland. The NFL insiders are right. As long as the current owner is the owner, the Browns will be the Browns. Shedeur is new to the situation. Shedeur is new to Cleveland. I'm pretty sure he's also new to this kind of sabotage. And it's not just happening to him. So if there are any Georgia fans in the house, I'll give y'all a second to grab you some snacks because I'm going to need y'all to talk about this and let me know if this is how you saw it. Here it is right here. Let me know if you're a Georgia fan. All right. It says right here, from Junior Quarles, 9120, it said, thanks for pointing that out, sis. Monken has only looked good when he has a superstar rushing attack. It's supposed to be Derrick Henry, or now let's take the Browns. Quinshon Judkins. The whole running back room is stacked, but Quinshon Judkins is, I believe, the starter, right? And he's supposed to be back. It said, remember, 2017, Georgia, where he had an all-American backfield with Nick Chubb, who was just here in Cleveland and now with the Texans, and Sonny Michel, and I don't know that person. It said they were also loaded all over the field that year. And for some reason, he felt that the freshman, Jake Fromm, should start over the number one freshman in the country in Justin Fields. I'm going to just stop right there. This is Todd Monken, the person that people erroneously believe recruited Shedeur to Georgia. He did not. But I tell you who he did successfully recruit to Georgia, Arch Manning. He's not there for Shedeur. He's there for Arch Manning. And if the Browns were serious about winning, they would not have KT Levinson or Cam Robinson. And no player that comes there with an 80 PFF like KT Levinson or Cornelius Lucas would end up with a 54 and a 49 and be playing out of position and never adjusted in or out. That's sabotage. That's the strategy. That's the script. And Monken signed up for it. Remember, every person interviewed was asked, how will you develop Shedeur Sanders? I don't know what all this development is about. I need somebody to quantify or tell me measurably what this development looks like. Because when that kid went out there and played against the Panthers, he was an NFL quarterback, which is why he was going to be drafted in the first round, top 3. So what the hell development are you talking about? To stay in the pocket, that's not development. That's dumbing him down. Because you want to go to a check down key, but you don't want to say it out loud because it's going to piss your fans off. That's not development. So they need to define development. And since he has to compete, they need to define what it looks like when he's successful so he don't have to keep competing. That's sabotage. That's manipulation. There's no definition. Because when he won the competition, it did not matter. So how is he going to know that he was successful this time? He's going to have to ask the question, what does winning the competition look like? Because I was the best quarterback last year. So what does it look like this year? And it shouldn't be moving. See, that's a problem with processes. And in one of those lawsuits, the way the NFL conduct business, including these teams, their processes are flawed. As you can see, the arbitration got kicked to the curb because it wasn't a real process. There's no real process for the competition either. It's just used and weaponized against the quarterbacks they want to derail. That's why only certain quarterbacks compete. Nobody talking about that part, though. Nobody talking about that part. So let me finish reading this. So he was talking about changing out Justin Fields. And y'all know how Justin Fields' career went, right? I think, did he leave Georgia? I think he left Georgia. And you see how his career went when he came to the NFL. And it seems like in college, if you choose to leave or stay, and you're a black quarterback, whether you're Caleb Williams or Justin Fields or Trinidad Shambliss, you're going to get done dirty. Jalen Hurts. Remember, he left Alabama And they had a nasty attitude when he got to the NFL. That's because they all friends and they work together. Justin Fields, number one player in the country, didn't want to be held back, so he bounced. And look what happened when he got to Chicago. The same thing that happened to Caleb Williams, who did not want to come out of school because he saw what happened to Justin Fields when he got to Chicago. And they sent him to the same team. You think that's a coincidence? No, that's a setup. It said, best roster they ever had and could not win a natty. It said his best season with the Ravens was also years when he had a dominant rushing attack led by Lamar Jackson. It said, I haven't seen anything that makes me believe that he can definitely develop QBs. Right. And I need to see something that lays out what it looks like when a QB is being developed. What does that entail? Please tell me what that entails. And I'm going to need you to define what it looks like, to what you got to do to win the quarterback competition. What you got to do? Because Shedeur was the best quarterback they had by the numbers. If the numbers didn't matter, then what the hell are we doing? What is it? Is it somewhere written? It needs to be posted publicly. Otherwise, this secretive process, this undefined process, much like the arbitration process, like the judge said, is not existent. It's just used to intimidate and or weaponize against players they want to derail. So let's see who they get on the O-line. See who they get for a quarterback. And I will say it again. Shedeur Sanders should not be competing because he won the competition. The Browns should be forced to explain why he wasn't given the starting job right then and there. The Browns should also be forced to explain why when Shedeur Sanders played in the regular season game and went toe-to-toe with the vets, and at the same point, 7 games, the same stats better than Tom Brady's first 7 games. Why it is they got the baby goat over there, but they want to derail his career like they have done Deshaun's, like it seemingly they are planning to do whoever else they get that is black over there. Unless they want to derail Carson Beck, and that wouldn't surprise me because they have barely talked about him. The Browns have a lot of explaining to do on why they have been dysfunctional, consistently dysfunctional. And why it is they're not just a revolving door for quarterbacks, but they seem to be some kind of trash receptacle for black quarterbacks' careers. What is their function? Because they're not strategizing to win. What is their goal? And how did you get rewarded with a stadium? What did you do to earn that? Much like what did Kevin Stefanski do to earn getting a raise and a promotion after being fired and ranked the worst coach with the worst O-line in the NFL? The Browns have a lot of explaining to do. So let me see what y'all are saying. Shout out to any Georgia fans that can add to the conversation. Let me know. So explain why suddenly, it's funny how when the player's black, they can't be in the league 14 years. Okay. Okay. It says Batonio. Yeah, Batonio should go. Batonio should go. And Cornelius Lucas was only on a 2-year contract. So he definitely had upside for 2 years. You're not going to tell me he didn't, because there was no downside in his performance. You can't just say you've been in the league 13 years. How many years has Flacco been in the league? And ain't nobody trying to send him home. In fact, the Bengals have said, oh, they're interested in him for next year. When they're white, you can play the 20 years if that's what you want to do. But when you black, you got about 4 or 5 years. And the fans support that. That is just ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous. It's asinine. You're contributing to the racism against players that look like you when you sit up and say that Cornelius Lucas has been in the league for 13 years. So what? Flacco been in the league for 20. They just went and got Phillip Rivers off his couch. He's 44. But they never asked Cam Newton to come in. Stop making these excuses because you're enabling their racism. You're enabling their discrimination. You can't call yourself a fan, especially if you're Black and you're enabling their discrimination and racism against Black players. Black players have a shorter shelf life in playing time. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Hit the like button for me and subscribe, please. Thank you. Welcome to the Flyest Show on the planet. Thank you so much. And yes, I hope y'all got your popcorn and green tea. Straight facts. Hey, Priscilla, how you doing? How you doing? Any Georgia fans? Let me know. When I get to you, let me know. Let me know. What's good? What's good? What's good? Talk is cheap. Seeing is believing. Straight facts. It said, I'm not going to hold my breath with that Monken. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. Right. His response to that gift, that beautiful gift that Shedeur gave him, that wasn't even professional. I'm like, look, at the least you need to be professional and respectful. I don't give a damn if you don't like me, but you're going to be respectful. And if we're in a workplace, you're gonna be professional. See, that's the problem. There's nobody to set that, to hold that standard. That's the problem. That is exactly the problem. That gift that Shedeur gave him was beautiful. That's it, right between the two of them. Right there, look like on the shelf. That is gorgeous. Yep, same BS. Yep, different coach. It's that you see through the BS. Yeah, I see through it. Some people need to cut their grass because they can't see. Tina say some people see the snakes, but choose to ignore them. I know that's right. I know that's right. And all in the same for what though? That's the question I have. Like, why are you choosing to be naive or ignorant? Which one is it? I'm like, I'm gonna put a t-shirt together that say cut your grass. Cut your grass, boo. Because you can't see the snakes, bro. Or you just talking with your eyes closed. One of the two, I don't know what it is. But that's just ridiculous. It said, and Haslam is in the background with a master's whip. I know that's right. That's straight facts. It said Monken has to stay on code with them, right? Because that's what he signed up for. That's what he signed up for. And as you can see, just looking at the background of the old lineman, you already can see Stefanski and Monken failed. And I ask this question in the community, right? If Monken's so good, why he wasn't promoted to head coach over there? Because they got a new head coach in Baltimore. Why they didn't hire him and retain him as the head coach since he's so good? He did such a good job with Lamar. Help me understand. Help me understand. I'm waiting. If he's so good, he did such a good job with Lamar. Somebody said he made Lamar MVP. Bull crap. Lamar was MVP long before Monken got to the Ravens. See how people want to give him credit for some shit he didn't even do? Lamar won his unanimous MVP the first year after when he was in the league. The first year. That's people wanting to romanticize Monken. I have no idea why. I don't know what the end goal is. When you sit up, you either uninformed or you just straight ignorant, or you just want the Browns to be good. Well, how about you look at their history and see that they've been chaotic. They've been dysfunctional. They were so dysfunctional that it got to the owner and he got in his feelings because they said it's dysfunctional, but they're dysfunctional. But he's not interested in fixing it. And as you can see, he's still doing the same thing. The same thing he'd been doing with a different coach, which means Monken had to sign up for it. He had to sign up for it. And it was easy for him to sign up for it because he signed up for it in Baltimore. See, they all waiting to get to their golden goose in 2027. Everybody else is dispensable, especially the black quarterbacks. Let's see who they get. It said the owner is still the owner, and the same old is still the same old. Facts. That's just straight facts. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. They changed whose numbers? Who you talking about? Tina? AB, start getting your resume ready. I know that's right. I know that's right. I'm like, because that's an indictment on you. Because you brought him in, Conklin gone. He was the GM when Conklin came in. They already blamed him for Deshaun because people just don't realize that man don't have that kind of power to give out that kind of money. And people swear he brought in Shedeur. And they're talking about the quarterback situation was chaotic last year. And remember, Stefanski was whining about it to the media, using the media to say that whatever they agreed to, that they didn't stick to because there were personnel changes. He's talking about quarterback. So he blamed Andrew Berry for Shedeur playing. Well, his whining worked because he ended up with a job making $15 million a year to go do it again over there in Atlanta. Straight dysfunction. Straight dysfunction. AB upgrading the O-line. Okay. All right. We're going to see. We're going to see, coach. We're going to see. Because did he get those guys in free agency? Yes. He got Cornelius Lucas in free agency. Cam Robinson came in September. Cornelius, what's the other one? KT Levingston was new. Joel Bitonio. If they're talking about upgrading O-line, Joel Bitonio should be gone. And, coach, you need to explain, since he upgrading the O-line, why he let Wyatt Teller go. I'm listening. Let me see what you're going to say. Since they upgrading the O-line. Look like they upgrading the backups to me. Because they didn't change Bitonio, KT Levingston, or Cam Robinson. That's 3 of the 5. Technically, Cornelius Lucas was a backup. Osborne, the center they got rid of, he was a backup. They backups. You supposed to be getting rid of 68, 72, and Joel Bitonio. But you want him to stay. That ain't upgrade. That's not upgrading at all. Because Joel Bitonio was dirt diving. He ought to be sanctioned by the league. Well, DW says Lucas got to go because he's 34. How old is Flacco? 40? Okay, keep going. This is exactly what I'm talking about. People wanting to push out black players, but it's okay. Flacco can play quarterback till he's 40. Phillip Rivers can come off his couch at 44 and get some more insurance. And then they want to make him the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. I'm like, well, damn. Damn. Talk about being qualified. Yep, Bitonio got to go too. He got to go too. Everything starts with the owner. I totally agree. Thank you, Julian. Thank you so much. That O-line can only get better. That's what we hope, coach, because right now they're not getting rid. It's not going to get better if you leaving the dirt diver in place. It's not going to get better if you're leaving the worst O-lineman at left tackle and right tackle, and KT should be playing right guard. How is it going to get better, coach? You can't just say that for the sake of saying it. There has to be some measurable that says it gets better. All they're going to do is get people that Joel Bitonio going to lead into dirt diving or to be in 68 and 72. Because them 3 are the ones that's the majority of who've been around, and 2 new people coming in. And don't forget about the center, Ethan Posick, that's 4. So really, it's only 1 new person. The right guard. It's really 1 person. Ethan Posick is still there. But Tonio's still there. That's 2. I thought the whole O-line was up for grabs. All right. We still got time, right? We're going to see, because all they've been shedding is people in the back and Wyatt Teller. Yep. Because Cornelius Lucas was rendered a backup. That's why they let him go. That man was started and didn't allow no sacks in 2024. What are you talking about? It said Cam Robinson and the rest are free agents. They are not coming back. We're going to see. We're going to see. We shall see. Let's see what happens. We hope they don't come back. We hope they don't come back. So Cam must have had a 1-year contract, huh? Because he came to Cleveland on a trade in September. Let's talk about the new O-line. The new O-line man the Browns signed today, and tell us who that is. And what's his name? Drop his name. I'll look it up. Let's see. Because when I looked up transactions, I saw they got rid of 2 O-linemen today. It said March 2nd, they added to bolster their offensive line by agreeing to acquire veteran tackle Titus Howard from the Houston Texans. Boy, they love them Texans, don't they? They love them Texans players. in exchange for a 5th-round pick. And Andrew Berry loves them 5th-round picks. It said, as part of the acquisition, the Browns signed Howard to a 3-year, $63 million contract. What position does Titus Howard play? Shout out to, is that Julian? Let me look. Let me look. He's 29 years old. Let's see his PFF grade. Let's go there. Let me see what position he played and PFF grade. He is a tackle. He has a 62 to start. Pass blocking is 77. That's good. That's good. Let's see. Anybody watch the Texans? His run block is only a 50, and his overall grade is a 67. So his pass block is a 77. His run block is a 50. We couldn't do no better than that for $63 million. We just gave somebody $63 million, and they got a 62 for a PFF. Is this contract guaranteed? Because if it's not, he's going to be like Cornelius Lucas. He played 1,021 offensive snaps in the season. He had 8 penalties. He allowed no sacks. So this is one, we're going to save this. This is somebody we want to see. He came in with a 77 for protecting the quarterback and a 50 for protecting the running back. That's not good. That's not good. What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about his grades? Let me share them with y'all. Who was that told us about the guy? Let me thank you for telling us. Because I checked the transactions. I didn't see him on it. It said, oh, shout out to Julian. Thank you, Julian. All right. So y'all can see right here on the screen, what do y'all think about this guy's grades? Now, we know people come to the Browns and they've had good grades elsewhere, or they were already sliding down, as in the case of Cam Robinson. So who do you think he'll replace? Let me know who you think he'll replace. Okay, putting it on the screen so y'all can see his grades. Those are his grades, guys. All right, so we have 62 overall, 77 pass blocking, which is good. I think that's really good. And then we have a run block. So one, is he going to be playing his actual position? He's a tackle. So let's see which one he's used to playing. I have to do some research into him. I don't like his run block grade. I think that's just the flip-flop of Cam Robinson. He's already 29 years old. We just gave him how much money? How much money did we give him? Was it 3 years? 63 million? Hold on. It said we signed him, the Browns signed him to a 3-year, $63 million contract extension. And he's 29. He got a 50 for a run block grade. What's the goal there? It said the first steps toward the Cleveland Browns employing an offensive line in 2026 include a trade for an established starter from also the Texans. The Browns and the Houston Texans have agreed to terms on a trade to send Titus Howard to Cleveland in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick, which probably going to be used on a quarterback. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport said. It said, included in the deal, Howard, who was entering the final year of his contract, received a new 3-year, $63 million extension, putting him under contract for the next 4 campaigns. I wasn't surprised. Howard told KPRC in Houston of the trade. They're trying to get younger and pay some guys. I ain't mad. I kind of knew it was going to happen. So he's saying they want to go with younger guys. And it said, I just appreciate the support over the last 7 years. I'll always be a Texan forever. I'm excited to go to Cleveland and turn the city up and help change the program and win some games. He has a great attitude. That's a nice contract. I think these types of contracts for O-linemen are starting to pave the way for O-linemen to be drafted and paid higher in the draft. So they're starting to recognize the O-line position more. And I noticed that they created an award for O linemen. So they're starting to elevate the O line position more so. Okay, I'm not mad at it, but I will say this. I don't like that 50 run block grade. That's just the flip flop. Except for Cam Robinson never had a 77 at all. So pass blocking, but run blocking, no. What you gonna do with that? Right? What are you gonna do with that? And that's a hell of a lot of money to pay somebody that, yes, you have a 77, but why is your run blocking grade so low? We need you to do at least be balanced, right? Explain why it's a good thing to get somebody with a great pass blocking, but a failing run blocking. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. And I want to see where he typically plays on the O line. Shout out to Julian for that. Because I'm actually still on the Brown site and I don't see him. Where does Titus Howard? One thing about paying these O linemen too, you know they're gonna expect something for their money. They're gonna expect some kind of loyalty. Titus Howard is generally versatile offensive lineman like Cornelius Lucas, recently traded to the Cleveland Browns, primarily playing right tackle, which is where KT Levingston was playing, but with extensive experience at left guard, which is Joel Batonio position, and right guard, which is Wyatt Teller's position. Over his 7-year career, he has started 93 games, demonstrated the ability to fill in at almost any position on the offensive line. Again, Andrew Berry being versatile and getting people that can play in multiple areas instead of just left and right. This guy plays multiple positions and he can play left and right. So that's even better than Cornelius Lucas, but you're not going to tell me you should have kept Lucas and got this guy because Lucas had a better pass blocking grade and he had an 80. Just like this guy has a 77, Lucas had an 80. So why not keep the 80 and the 77? And my assumption, or are we going to assume that Cam Robinson is gone, or KT Levingston and Cam Robinson is gone, or all three Batonio, and this guy is coming in, and they're gonna get some more people? Let's see. Let's see. Shout out to Julian for that. Thank you, Julian, for getting that to us. Thank you for being clutch. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Julian, for being clutch and sharing that with us about Titus Howard. He has a great attitude. I think he'll be good as far as character for the locker room. I don't really care for that run block grade. That's just the opposite of Cam Robinson. He came from the Texans, also a little concerning because how they did CJ Stroud. And I don't know why these guys appeal to the Browns front office, but let's see. Let's see how this goes. You can be in clutch with that info on Titus. All right. So let's see who else we got in here. Okay, somebody liked the Texans. Jimbo liked the Texans. It said, we about playing the game and having fun with Shedeur Sanders. I hope so, Julian. I hope so. The Texans tackle was a great pick. Coach too. Smart move by AB to trade before free agency. Yeah, I like that move. I like it, but I like Cornelius Lucas too. So I definitely see Andrew Berry and the versatility of the player, but I don't care for the run block grade. I don't care for why would you want to get a 50? Let me know what you think. Let me know exactly what you think. So shout out to Julian for being clutch on that. It said Lucas can't play. He's sorry. Yeah, no, he was not sorry in Washington. That man was not sorry in Washington. So stop saying that. Y'all can't just be saying anything, Jimbo, just because you want to have your way. You can't do that. Hey, Peter, how you doing? We just talking. Julian told us about the new guy, so we looked him up. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Jimbo's gone. It said, I am still giving you the respect. It said we conduct business around here. Oh, absolutely. 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 I'm like, I looked them up. I looked up the transactions page. I was reading about Osborne, the center who was a backup that they moved out, released, and Cornelius Lucas. I didn't even see the story about the new guy. So shout out to Julian for that. Appreciate you for coming in clutch. That's why we have one of the best chats. Let Monken cook. He gonna be great. I don't know. Monken has a lot to prove, coach. I'm not gonna sit up here and just welcome him with open arms when he clearly said himself he could have coached Lamar better. Clearly had the same offensive inconsistencies as Kevin Stefanski. It's a script, coach. It's a script. So Monken has to prove that he wants to win, that he's just not over there rebuilding for the sake of rebuilding, stalling until his golden goose comes in next year in Arch Manning. That's not right to do that to Shedeur, Deshaun, or whatever other two quarterbacks that they're going to get. And Haslam needs to know he's not passing off diversity by bringing in 4 or 5 black quarterbacks, pitting them against each other, being negative in the media about them, but then having no real intentions for their career upside. That's just playing in people's face. So it said they didn't derail Deshaun's career. He went to jail. When did he go to jail? Deshaun didn't go to jail. What the hell y'all talking about? That man was released by, that man was found guilty by two Texas grand juries, and the NFL awarded him $230 million, which is every time that he got back. And there's a list floating about, I might share it tomorrow, talking about the worst NFL deals in history, and he wasn't on it. He wasn't on it. But Kirk Cousins was. Kirk Cousins is on it. Kirk Cousins is on it. Quarterback competition is not normal. Yeah, I never heard that about Deshaun, like at all. At all. So, you know. The tackle that came from the Texans you were speaking about, Cam, or you talking about Cam? Tina, you talking about Cam? It's gonna take 2 years for that offense to be legit. So what does that tell you, coach? I don't doubt that, because they look at it like, oh, we're rebuilding. No, let me get this straight. You were this close. You had the number 2 offense. You had a damn good number 2 defense. You had a damn good offense, but you had your linemen acting like clowns. You had your wide receiver 1 acting like a clown. And you run off your defensive coordinator and you get a new head coach, and suddenly you're rebuilding, which is your style plan, your bridge plan to get to 2027. So you're not taking nothing about this year seriously. Might explain why a boy got a 50 for a pass, a run block. That's not good. I want to know what y'all think about the 50 on the run block grade. I don't really care for that. I love his pass blocking, but I need you to protect the running back too. It should be either or. It should be find somebody who can do both. He will replace all the O line. That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like. He gonna replace. Barry gonna replace the entire O line. Let's see who else we get. The whole line getting replaced. He just the first one. That's not the first one. You mean the first one to come in or the first one to go out? Batonio should be gone. Y'all not gonna tell me Batonio should still be there. And coach, I know you know Batonio should be gone. It said wide receiver Malachi Corley said he and Shedeur are connected in Cleveland in 2 weeks to practice together and hopefully a few times during the offseason. Well, that's good. I like that. That's just me. They just not gonna get it. Let's see what happens there. I think what's the is that Malachi, the kid from, is that Ohio State? Is that where he's from? Let me know. I'm all in favor for all of these players that likes to do. I don't have no problem with that, but they're gonna stand up when it's crunch time. We know what crunch time look like. Are they gonna stand up when it's crunch time? Are they gonna protect him? 2027, Shedeur is the thrower. No, 2027, Shedeur is the quarterback. That's what Stefanski used to call him. I used to wonder why he couldn't just say the word quarterback. The Browns been rebuilding since Haslam on the team. Right. And that's what the fans are sick and tired of. The fans are sick and tired. So Andrew Berry doing his thing again. I've always applauded him for bringing in old linemen who I say were ambidextrous. They can play the left or the right. This time he brought in somebody that can play left tackle, right tackle, or guard on the right. So let's see what happens, because Cornelius Lucas was promising and they released him. They released him. So when they bring in people like this for 3 years, they looking past this year. They're not even thinking about this year, because coach is right. They are rebuilding, and they will be rebuilding. So they're bringing in an O-line to get them together for what year? 27 or 28? Let me know. Because they're going to rely on the excuse that the team could win. They've only been predicted to win 6 games. I'm like, how the hell do you even know that? And you don't even know who the quarterback's supposed to be. If they only win 6 games, then they just going to use that to devalue Shedeur. Shedeur Sanders was not Andrew Berry's pick, even the way he talked about it. And it's a known fact that Andrew Berry was calling around using his resources to try to find somewhere for Shedeur to go. And the places he found had black quarterbacks. But it probably is less to do with the quarterbacks and more to do with Philadelphia, because his brother works there, and Baltimore because the man that hired him, Sashi Brown, who was fired by Haslam because Sashi wanted to get Lamar, works in Baltimore. So it was probably more of that. So Shedeur Sanders was not Andrew Berry's pick. That's obvious. It probably was at number 2, yeah, but not 144. No. The look on his face was total disgust, because they did all of the pre-draft with Shedeur extensively at 2, and then the owner was like, moved off of him. Andrew Berry confirmed Shedeur wasn't on their board. We don't know when that changed, or was he ever on there for the draft. But we know on 4-4, they were drafted him when they came to Colorado. So the Browns have a lot of explaining to do, and Monken needs to prove himself. Shedeur don't need to prove himself. Monken needs to prove himself, because if he was so good, why was he not elevated to head coach in Baltimore, where he made Lamar, according to some people? I'm waiting on an answer. All right, so I'm going to get out of here because it's my 3rd live today. I'll be back tomorrow. Shout out to y'all that watched the Dubai report, and I'll be back with that tomorrow as well, because there's already some updates. I said I might start dropping videos too about that, just because it's a lot of good stuff starting to happen that Americans are that we need to know about. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow. So no, it's not a new day in Cleveland. It's just Tuesday. All right. I like the Titus Howard selection. I just wish his run block grade was better, right? So let's just see how it goes there. We'll be watching. And Monken have a lot to prove, and the Browns have a lot to explain. So that's it. Shedeur solid. All right. I'll see y'all later. Have a good night. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. This was awesome. Thank you for the contributions, and shout out to Julian for being clutch. And thank you, members and chat, for holding it down. Bye-bye.